is coming, page 131. Ya'alo Sadai, Bechol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai, Ayer la la Ya'alo Sadai, Bechol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai, Ya'la la la Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Ya'alo Sadai Bechol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ayer la la Ya'alo Sadai Bechol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ayer la la Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Az Yiranenu Kol Atzei Ya'alo Sadai Bechol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ayer la la Ya'alo Sadai Bechol Asher Bo Ya'alo Sadai Ayer la la. Page 134. This needs to be dedicated to Tamara. Apparently it's her favorite song. Page 134. Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, bitzchu v'ranenu v'zameru. Raise a shout to God, all the earth. Break into joyous songs, songs of praise. 134. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, Ariu. L'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz. Bitzchu, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru. Zamru l'Adonai v'chinot, v'chinot, v'chol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai v'chinot, v'chol zimra. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, Hariu. L'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz. Bitzchu, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru. Zamru l'Adonai v'chinot, v'chinot, v'chol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai v'chinot, v'chol zimra. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay, ya la la la. This evening, being Lag BaOmer, it seems appropriate to turn to page 138 and sing the words of Lecha Dodi as the mystics would greet the Sabbath bride. They would go out to the edge of the city and set a white table and welcome the bride with all the joy and all the love and all the wishing that the blessings should join each of us. The blessings of Shabbat as Malchut and Shekhinah are united. The words of Lecha Dodi on page 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad hu shemo echad shemo tiferet ולהיטילה Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נעשוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומיתי מתוך אף רב לך שבט במקבחה והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. התנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך מעל ידי בית הלחמי קרבה אל נפשי גאלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שידברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי מה תשתוכחי ומתי בך יחסו אני עמי בני בנתה הרלתי לה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. והיו למשיסה שעושייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך תמצוץ חתן על כלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. ימין ושמאל תפארתי ואת אדוני תעריתי על יריש בן פרתי ונשמחה ונגילה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. בואי ושלום עטרת מעלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה בואי חלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat b'nei Kabbalat.
And so, Shabbat Shalom. And so as we have welcomed Shabbat with the singing of Lecha Dodi, this is the moment for us to invite Lisa and Noah and the family up to light our Shabbat candles. So Noah's becoming a bar mitzvah very soon. Noah, when?
May 8th.
May 8th. That's very soon. What are you looking for?
Just you.
On page 118.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kihishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehalik nel shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Let's take a moment, turn to those around us in a COVID-safe and friendly way, wishing one another Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Restring chat, but I don't have the three dots together.
No, on some of that.
I don't need it. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Page 140. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיר בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני ארני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמכו חשבותיך. איש פער לא ידע, וכסיל לא יבין את זאת. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק אתה מה יפרח, כארז בלבנון, בלבנון ישגה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינון בשבע דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא on page 142. As we sing this song, Shalom Aleichem, I do want to recognize that in Israel, this Lag BaOmer, just today, a few hours ago, in Meron, many of those who gathered to at the site of Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the famous Kabbalists, there was a catastrophe. Some people slipped and a stampede resulted, and so far 44 people have died. And so as we wish for blessings and health, we wish so too for those in Israel, those who have died as well as their families, as well as 100 others injured, when 100,000 people came to celebrate Lag BaOmer together and to remember Bar Yochai. And so with that note, we sing Shalom Aleichem as we wish that the angels would bless our Shabbat, bless our lives, bless our week, that we should be as blessed as our Shabbat. We think also of those who sadly are not celebrating this Shabbat. Page 142.
שלום עליכם מלכי השרת, מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם מלכי השרת, מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בורכם לשלום מלכי השלום ממלך הקדוש ברוך הוא. ממלך הקדוש ברוך הוא, ממלך הקדוש ברוך הוא. בורכם לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בורכם לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש קדוש ברוך הוא. ברכון שלום מלכי השלום, ממלך מלכי הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם מלכי השרת, ממלך הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם מלכי השרת, ממלך מלכי הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We rise on page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
בעלמא דברה חירותי והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו. לילה מן קל ברכתה ושירתה, ושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמה. ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Page 148, please be seated if you'll join with me in the Hebrew. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אתה. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נצליח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. יהם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושנתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, ושבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי ידיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל לחלת, והיה לכם ציצית, ודיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוותיי, ועשיתם אותם, ולא רדו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם מקדושים להם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Mazel Tov Noah, who will be bar mitzvah.
Page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, there is one God in heaven and on earth. The high heavens declare your glory, may earth reveal your justice and your love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered at Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way, inspired by prophets and instructed by sages. Time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש,
מי כמוך
נורא
באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר
פלא.
בקודש,
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 160. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהיך, Eloheinu לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our sovereign, to life renewed. השכיבנו, השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום.
השכיבנו, השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו לשלום.
ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים ולשלום, ולשלום. השכיבנו, השכיבנו, אלוהינו לשלום, וברוז עלינו סוכת שלומך. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אלוהינו לשלום. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts, eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Ashkivenu, Ashkivenu, Eloheinu leshalom.
ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Eternal One, the shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162, Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat. This is our covenant for all time.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, 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 לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת.
And so we rise on page 164 for the Amidah, or the Tefillah, the standing prayer, the core of our service. As is our tradition, we will chant the first three of the benedictions as a community, and then continue in silence, whether using the words of our prayer books or the words of our hearts. Page 164.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. צומח נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
ניהול רצון נמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. Ay la 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 la, ay la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ay la 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 la, ay la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא 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 לה 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 לה. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן.
Amen. I think that is my favorite version.
We dedicate it to you.
Oh,
In which case,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I always wanted a song dedicated to me, but I didn't imagine it would be like this. Tonight we are very fortunate to have an incredible educator with us to talk to us about what true inclusion means. And I have to be honest, many of you know I've been teaching at King David the last few months. And had I had somebody like Tal Spinrad, you know, to advise me, to talk to me about the dynamics of classroom and and the different learning needs of each student to guide me and to help me. At the beginning of the year, I know the teaching Year 9 students would be more of a blessing than it currently is. So Tal is the project manager for what is called Kulanu, the Project Kulanu manager at UJEB, and really is an inclusion advocate. And we are so blessed and delighted to have Tal join us this evening. He is here with his daughters. I'll let him talk about that. That's your story. So Tal, please come up and join me on the beamer. You have about 45 minutes.
Yeah, sure. No, that's right. You shouldn't be laughing at that. Let's have a barometer just in terms of this is a call and response. All right. I have a question for you. How do you make a small fortune in Israel? Thank you. Go with a large one, right? All right, there's always this element of call and response. Call and response. Everyone in a call and response, like I grew up with Elmer Gantry, right? Burt Lancaster, evangelical preacher before Morrison, you know? And I can say that, I'm still not a citizen, right? And so this call and response thing is a physical manifestation of being two parts of the same organism, right? So it's the most primal way of being a community. And I'm going to get back to that. Let me talk to you about something that I do during the week. I engage students at special developmental schools, or they're slowly but surely changing their names for special developmental schools to specialist schools. But it's somewhat problematic because you used to refer to them by like Bayside SDS, and I just have this like kind of whinge thing about having like Bayside SS school. It just doesn't work out for me as a Jewish educator, right? Nevertheless, I have this student, Benji. Now, Benji is a really, really sweet kid. He's on the spectrum. As a matter of fact, I am on the spectrum. I have autism. I was, until 7, 8 years old, I was nonverbal. Now, when I tell people that, especially people who know me and people who are friends of mine, I say, you know what, until I was 7, 8 years old, I was nonverbal. They would have this faraway look in their eye. And they would go, oh, those were the days, right? And now I've gone the complete opposite. Not only am I verbal, but I am just like the Torah. No punctuation whatsoever, right? So it's just one long sentence, right? So when I finish my one long sentence, Mashiach may come, right? So it's so many people, and when the rabbi actually said you have 45 minutes, I know I have much less than that. So someone give me a 2-minute warning, right? So I can close things up.
I'm not brave enough. I'll let the president do that.
Gracefully, right? Well, he has you have one experience in the past of doing that. You did very well in terms of shutting me down.
Usually, the microphone.
Usually when I'm speaking, especially if it's during a Shabbat service on Saturday and there's a big kiddush out there, people start if they start going outside and calling Amnesty International because it becomes a hostage situation. People are just wanting to get out there, and I won't shut up. But let me talk to you about this kid, Benji. Now, Benji's a really sweet kid. He's on the spectrum. And the routine that we have gotten, because what I basically do in these schools is that I work on engagement, all right? There's a full range of disabilities or articulations about these kids on the spectrum. And what I try to do is engage them in basically a half hour of what I euphemistically call music and my singing. Again, there's a temptation to call Amnesty International when I am singing as well, right? But what we have worked out with Benji and myself and most of the other kids is I will go, Hine matov hu macha yim. They finish every sentence. Every line in the song, they'll finish it. And each one, even at a place like Glen Allen, where I have 17 students, they end up all doing their own final word in each of the lines. So they all have a solo in it. And they all have an equal part in this. Now, I'm not going to be here. By the way, this is the last day in Autism Awareness Month. I am looking forward to all these months. Lactose Intolerant Awareness Month, people who ate peanut butter, dogs who hate being allergic to peanut butter, Awareness Month, all these awareness months. It is my dream we have no more need for any awareness months. Because that means the other months, we're not woke, as it were. All right? So this is Autism Awareness Month, but I'm not going to talk to you about autism. I'm not going to try to explain it to you because there's no way that I can. I'll tell you this, though. I will tell you some statements that are not popular statements. As a person on the spectrum, speaking for other people on the spectrum, if I can be as arrogant enough to do that, We do not want to be cured. We do not see it as necessarily a disability. Now, there are piggyback disabilities that go along at times, right? There may be a point where being nonverbal is a disability. There may be a point to that. But we have one of our great heroes who had that disability, and that was Moshe. Right? And he was lucky enough to run into a guy named Yitro, who helped him out of his post-traumatic syndrome about being raised in the Egyptian palace. I'm not going to talk to you about autism. I'm going to talk to you about how we spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, translating everything. Because our reality is a fluid reality. Our reality is not the same as your reality. Our reality is akin to its PC laptop versus Apple. The wiring is different. We see things different. But that's not a disability. That is advantage. That's an advantage. That is, if the technical term, is diversity. And while we talk about inclusion, inclusion is absolute. In terms of, we're not talking about inclusion like people who are evil inclusion. We're talking about diversity inclusion. It's absolute. You cannot say, I believe in neurodiversity without saying, I believe in sexual diversity. Inclusion is inclusion. You can't nit and pick because that's exclusive. It's the opposite of inclusion. We spend, as being on the spectrum, and people with disabilities, we spend almost all our time, thank you, searching, that's the call and response. Our family is so tight that it's the Yiddish that we know. We clear our throats and cough, it's the Yiddish, right? So we spend all our time searching for an entrance to be understood, an entrance to be accepted, an entrance, Shmornov? And
wish it to be so.
Wish it to be so. Well, if we were in the church down the block, I'd be, anyway. To be accepted. We're searching for the entrance to work, the entrance to serve, the entrance to have the dignity of service. To offer up ourselves and have that dignity of being able to do so. To have a place of service within the community. Ramps are nice. Stuff for hearing impaired is nice. All those things are wonderful. Not enough. Not nearly enough. People with disabilities, people on the spectrum, should have more leadership roles. And here's this thing: paid leadership roles in Jewish organizations, especially organizations that claim to be advocates of that group of people. And it's not nearly enough. I respect you, Jeb, not only because of that paycheck I get, but because of that paycheck I get. Because they hired someone to be in middle management. It's such a British dream come true, right? Although I'm not British. To be in middle management, right? Right? We want a place within the community. I want to make one more point. We are in the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer. The Omer is my single most favorite, astonishing thing about the Jewish tradition. You might ask why. Thank you. And they say Pavlov didn't work. Anyway, because the Omer is a unit of measure. But it's kind of like, how long is a string? The Omer is what is needed to sustain an individual or a community. It could be small, it could be large, but it is exactly what the community needs. When we were told look for context. When we were told at Lake Moror to go out and find manna, which literally is translated, whatchamacallit, manna, we were told to go out and get an omer. Some people went and got too much. Everyone got their individual amount that they needed for their family. Some people got too much, and it went bad. For you youngins, no refrigerators in the desert. And no toilet paper, which is why we have matzah, but that's a whole other story. Nevertheless, everyone has an omer, whatever it is, and it's not just food. It's omer of love. It's the omer of love. It's a Prince song. Omer of love, omer of attention, omer of service. Because the second most best thing in Jewishness is the fact that every single thing in Judaism, if it's a value, it is reciprocal. So if you do tzedakah and you give someone who's in need of food, you are doing a great mitzvah, but that person receiving the food does the reciprocal mitzvah, and it's just as important. So, omer comes in. How much do I need? And I should only take what I need because, believe it or not, there's enough in this creation for everyone if we only took an omer and no more. However, also going out the omer, right? So we have to find where each and every person, irregardless, and I know that's not a word, irregardless of their limitations, their abilities, their disabilities, where they're on the spectrum, whether they're, are Magpie fans or someone who actually has taste. Go Tigers. Oh, anyway. We need to find their omer in terms of what they can do for the community and give them the dignity of that and give them the voice. And in that way, we can find places for each and every person. And we could do what Yitro did with Moshe. Yitro gave him a job. Nice girl as well. Gave him a job so he can heal himself through service. And without that job, without Yitro, we don't have Moshe being able to, how shall we say, get the guts to be able to go back to Mitzrayim. 2 minutes? Are we okay? Are we okay? Okay. So that's the reciprocal nature. And walk away with one other thing. Everyone loves inclusion. Kissing baby thing. Or even, dare I say it, laying on hands thing, right? It's the kiss, inclusion is the wonderful thing. Everyone wants to be, that's not enough as well. We need to put reciprocal in front of that. I talk to Jewish day schools and I advise them about what to put in their classrooms to help kids out that are on the spectrum. A quiet space, or a place where they can walk around in the back, where they can eat something and they can graze during the school day. They don't have like one time a day where they can eat. What is this, Attica? I mean, this is not a prison. It's where your people should be able to eat when they need to eat. How Jewish is that, right? All right, and you have to stay in line, but it doesn't matter, right? But the reciprocal nature, and yes, that's good for kids on the spectrum, but the reciprocal nature of that inclusion is that helps out each and every other kid in the classroom. Every child, every person needs, to a varying degree, the stuff that kids and adults on the spectrum need. And we need to wake up to that and give a voice to the people that have disabilities and give a voice to the people that are on the spectrum. Because mind you, if you're on the autism spectrum by itself, like I said, it's not a disability. The disability is in the communication gap between the neurotypical, I'm throwing all these technical terms, right? The neurotypical population and the people that are on the spectrum. Okay? In that way, we could all be at a Queen concert, Radio Gaga, right? We will be able to finish each other's songs because that's what it's all about. I mean, Truly, truly, that's what it's all about. If there's a metaphor in life for trying to build community, look to places like choirs and orchestras and rock bands, especially the Ramones, great Jewish rock band, right? All these people, and see what you can do in your community here and reach out. If anyone needs any information, any help, any type of resource, any type of support, if you know of a child that's in a special development school and they're Jewish, tell their parents to call me, right? We can get in there. It's not a question, and we're actually really, really good at what we do. And the administrations where we're at like us when we're there, because I'm one of the few, because they understand that the person who's running the thing is actually someone who's on the spectrum. So I understand what the limitations are and where the points of engagement are. And once again, thank you very much, Rabbi, and thank you, TBI, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Tal. Friends, to continue the theme of the Omer, let's rise for Sfirat HaOmer on page 570. As we share in the blessing together. Hinani mukhan uzman lakayem mitzvat aseh shel Sfirat HaOmer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al Sfirat HaOmer. Hayom 34 yom shehem 4 shavuot. V'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 34th day, which is 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer, of course, after Shabbat. We went from Lag BaOmer into the 34th day. We'll move forward in our Siddur to page 586 as we rise for Aleinu. Would you be willing to open the ark for us? Maybe you'll bring up a daughter or not. Show me where the of course. Of course. You got a couple yourself. Page 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות הארמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
As is our tradition now, we turn to Kaddish Yatom on page 598. And for the week of the Shiva, remember in our congregation and in our community, baby Azriel Bailey Cohen, Michael Cohn, Banti Millie Davis, Ellen Lowenthal, and Leonard Sharp. And for the Shloshim, we remember Valerie Falk, Joel Harris, Margaret Hesselov, Edward Morris, Roma Silva, Gertrude Spicer, Max Aaron Weinberger, Harry Wazokia, and also as part of the Shiva and Shloshim Mohinder Marjan, who died in India of COVID. And for the Yahrzeits, anniversaries of whose death fall on this Shabbat, we remember Matilda Abraham, Rose Cherney, George Coleman, Morris Elijah, Sharon Ruth Favish, Stephen Feldheim, Phineas Franks, Celia Freshman, Harry Gross, Albert Grossbard, Arnold Hillel, Robert Cam, Avner Kenatopsky, Grigory Kurtzer, Kurt Lippman, Sadie Lurie, Myrna Margolis, Esther Moss, Ruth Opat, Tony Opat, Greta Pierce, Gerald Rosenberg, Mildred Ross, Shmuel Ribolov, Saul Same, Alma Slavic, Lily Siegel, Miriam Sward, Susan Tesher, and Dick Vandenberg. If you'd like to remember the name of a loved one for Shiva, Shloshim, or for Yahrzeit, please share their names out loud here in the sanctuary or online through the chat. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous be for a blessing as we join together in one voice as is our custom. Yitgadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach Hirutei v'amlich malchutei, B'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayeda chol Beit Yisrael, B'gala v'isman kariv v'maru,
Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach l'olam olamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudashah,
Brichu.
Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran b'yalma v'yimaru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch shav le'tzion v'Yerushalayim. May the source of peace and peace to you who mourn, and comfort all who are bereaved in Zion and Jerusalem and around the world. And we say, Amen. Amen. So as we are seated, our president, Craig, will make some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Oh, just got to be COVID safe. On behalf of the entire board of TBI, I want to welcome everyone who is inside the sanctuary and also to those of you who are online tonight. Congratulations to those who are celebrating, and for those who are remembering a loved one, we hope that sharing your sorrow together with the community is a help. A few highlights are coming up. Tomorrow we have two B'nai Mitzvah, Elliot Lowe and Poppy Van Hove, and we wish both of them and their families much nachas and hope that tomorrow goes well for both of them, and we welcome everyone to join in their celebration and be part of it as part of the congregation. Our services and events can be found on our website and also in the weekly email from the Rabbi. And Shabbat is nearly upon us, and on Sunday, May 17, please join us as we gather for Erev Shabbat as we celebrate and honour our inaugural Decorum Award recipients, and we judge who in the community has made the best cheesecake of the year. I'm certainly looking forward to judging that. We return on Monday morning for our Shabbat Shacharit service. Our Pesach appeal will be drawing to an end. Thank you for those who have generously supported us to date, and if you haven't had an opportunity, please reach out to the office. We do need your support so that we can continue to do what you appreciate us doing so much. Thank you to Hashem Hashim and our BIMA team, and for those who are outside, making sure that we're safe inside. And I also want to mention that on Sunday at 10 a.m. we are having a garden bee as we spruce up our garden, and you are all welcome and all, what can I say? We'd love to have you to help.
Bring your own gloves.
Thank you. A green thumb would be helpful. As we say, Shabbat Shalom, and don't forget to leave your books on your seats. We'll have them cleaned.
Thank you, Craig. And we will conclude on page 647 with the words, Oziven Zimrat Yah vayehili lishua, the Eternal One is my strength and might. God has become my deliverance. Page 647 at the bottom of page.
Oziven Zimrat Yah vayehili lishua. Vayehili lishua. Ozi vezimrat Yah vayehili lishua. Yah vayehili lishua. Ozi vezimrat Yah vayehili lishua. Vezimrat Yah vayehili